welcome back. Today is day 29 of this 30-day Spooky Island Challenge. Today's episode is going to be a little different and more of a speed build style rather than a slow yap, decorate as I go kind of an episode. And that is because I'm going to be tackling all of the villager homes today, starting off with Coco. So I have somewhat of a plan going into these villager homes, and for Coco specifically, I want her house to feel like you're outside in the forest rather than indoors. So I'm going to be going for a lot of outdoor type of items. And I typically start my interiors with the flooring and the wallpaper, as I feel this really sets the scene for what I'm going to be working on and usually impacts my decor choices as well. So for Coco's home, I went with the forest flooring and also the forest wallpaper. After making those selections, I moved up to the ceiling. I want all of the villager homes to feel very dark, so I'm only going to be using a few light fixtures here and there. And along the lines of feeling like you're outside, I also went with a ton of the hanging vine item. I have a feeling that is going to be the new wheat field of the interiors. It just fills a visual space so nicely and gives the interior a wild feel, which I love. Now at this point, I'm going through some of the furniture items and just selecting a couple that I think I'm going to be using somewhere in the room. I'll probably get around to placing it later on. I try to just give myself, I guess, like a miniature mood board almost, and see kind of the vibe and the trend and where I'm headed before I start actually putting them in their final place. I also find it easier if I have everything laid out in front of me rather than having to search through the menu all the time. I had thought about using the bunny item, but after getting further into the decorating process, it felt too cute and pure for how this room was turning out. I didn't want to subject the little guy to all of the bugs and whatever else is happening in Coco's house. So at this point, I'm liking the way the room is headed, but I wish I had placed all of these items on the wall facing the door rather than to the right-hand side. So I'm shifting everything around a bit. While it's a little annoying having to completely redo this setup, I do like this orientation of the furniture a lot more, so I think it was worth the effort. I really struggled with what to do in the right-hand side corner over here. As you can see, I spent basically an entire minute scrolling through all of the furniture, and I had thought that maybe one of the barrels would be my solution here, but it just didn't feel right. So I kept looking until I remembered that this wooden box item exists, and popped that in and loved it. So it just felt like that missing piece that I was looking for. And with that, we'll let Coco take a look at her new home, and that's the first finished interior. And now we're moving on. So our next villager is Kiki, and she does have a pretty colorful exterior for her house, so I definitely want to mute that a bit. I like to have some of the different type of villager homes just as far as the structure itself is. So I'm going to stick with the existing structure for Kiki's home and just update some of the cosmetic choices instead to kind of make it a little darker. Okay, and now we are moving on to the interior. So my thoughts for Kiki's home is that she is going to be the naturey good witch that lives on this island. I am going to be using some of the same witchy type of items like the cauldron that I've used kind of throughout, but instead of leaning towards creepy core with the skeletons, I'm going to have this lean a little more nature herbalist kind of a feel. And Kiki's house ended up being the second most difficult for me out of all of the villager homes that we're going to be doing today. The first is Olivia's, but we're saving her for the end. And I think the reason for that is just there were only almost too many options that would work for the vibe and the theme that I was going for Kiki's home. And because of that, I felt like it took me a very long time to commit to anything at all. But eventually, I did get some of the main furniture items placed in the room, like the kitchen items, and then once again, the wooden boxes really came to save the day. I also knew that I wanted this house to feel extremely cluttered and lived in. So I went through all of the different tabletop items and kind of threw them all down on the floor, the ones that I thought I may have a chance of even using somewhere, before I end up settling on a couple of them and just kind of dispersing them throughout the room. continued to struggle with this interior right up until the end, but honestly, after it's all done, I think it might be my favorite of all the villager homes that we'll end up decorating today. After I was finally happy with the furniture items, I moved to the walls, and I wanted to make sure that this felt equally naturey and cluttered as the furniture items did, so tried to put as many of the foliage items and just anything else that I thought made sense for this type of build on the walls as possible.
On my enthusiasm.
I like your enthusiasm.
And after a couple of finishing touches with the ceiling items and some spider webs here and there, Kiki's house is also complete. Next up, we have Cole, and his exterior was almost completely perfect to begin with, so all I really wanted to change was the color of the roof, and then moved on to the interiors. And his is probably the biggest change from starting point to what the finished product was, with all of his beach decor. Doesn't really fit the vibe of the island. And so as I was decorating his home, I wasn't really sure what the direction was going to be when I started, but I ended up deciding to capitalize on the idea that I had in an earlier episode, with Cole being a type of warrior or assassin on the island. So for his interior, my idea is that he moved into an abandoned storage room. Because of that, I want to make sure it looks pretty empty and bare bones, since in my head, as an assassin, he would be the type that really only takes what he can carry on his person, and the type that would sleep with his sword next to the bed. For this back right-hand corner, I once again didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. I don't know what it is with me and the right back corners that is such a struggle, especially today. But surprise, surprise, I promise this is the last time this video I'll be talking about the wooden boxes. But this is what really made me go with the storyline of this being a storage room. So I added a ton of wooden boxes to the corner, and I think it actually really fits with the vibe of this room, and it helps that I kind of made it, I guess, make sense as far as the story goes for this island as a whole. I decided to go super minimal with the wall decor since, again, this is supposed to be abandoned after all, and just added a couple of items here and there. And last but not least, I dimmed the lights and Cole was all ready to see his finished home. The next house we're going to be working on is Lucky's house, and his exterior was also in a pretty good spot, so I only did a little bit of tweaking on the colors before moving on to the interiors. Similar to my thoughts in the direction that I went with Coco's house, I wanted to bring the outdoors in with Lucky's house as well and have this be an extension of the graveyard. Getting started with the wallpaper and the flooring and just kind of the first couple of items seemed to be the most difficult part of this build for me, but once I got the statue placed with the castle walls, it started to kind of click, and I had a much stronger idea and vision of what I wanted the end result to be. This is also my formal petition for the next Animal Crossing to have a search bar. I feel like I end up scrolling through the items so much looking for one specific thing, and I know I could filter alphabetically, but I still feel like I sometimes miss the items even doing that as well. But back to the build, I did end up using a lot of very similar items that are outside of Lucky's home, and I feel like it really came together and feels very cohesive with this section of the island. after Lucky's, I moved on to all of the 3 houses that are in the swamp. And I'm gonna go through the 3 of these a little bit faster than we have the other villager homes I've been working on so far, just because She Knows, Roscoe's, and Muffy's all end up very similar. There are some slight differences between the 3 of them as far as just the items I used, but overall the vibe and the feel of them is pretty much identical. So getting started, I did also want to make sure with the exteriors that each of these 3 homes was the same. And this is really the only section of the island I'm doing this on. I just wanted that kind of feeling of cohesion. And then plus it'll also blend in well with the exterior I have in mind for my house. But as far as the items that I'm using in each of these 3 homes, I leveraged the Glowing Moss and Vine series a lot in honestly all 3 of the homes. Each of them kind of leaned different directions, like She Knows ends up being a little more probably creepy than any of the other 2 does. I used a lot more skeletons for her home, and I'm not really sure why. That wasn't entirely intentional. It just kind of ended up feeling right as I was going along with it. And then we'll see in a little bit, but Roscoe's ends up feeling slightly more mystical. And then Muffy's, to be honest, I'm not even sure what I would call that vibe. Honestly, it kind of gives me a little bit of National Treasure, and I don't hate that. I just don't know why that ended up being the vibe, but I like it, so I kind of stuck with it. But these were all pretty fun and honestly easy to go through. It's kind of nice building a room when you're not really focused on like a kitchen or a bedroom or anything like that. Each of these is just very outdoorsy and wild and weird feeling and kind of fun decorating in a different way like that. And at this point, I was really liking using the glowing moss tools, since I feel like I had tried in a bunch of areas and it just wasn't quite looking how I wanted to. So I decided to dim the lights just to see what kind of glow, if any, they would give off at nighttime. And it doesn't necessarily glow too much, but I do think it gives off kind of an eerie vibe, which overall, that was the mission. For Roscoe's home, again, I did want it to feel pretty cohesive with She Knows, which we already looked at, and then again with Muffy's, which we'll do afterwards. So I wanted to use same kind of items, at least as far as the series itself, maybe not like the identical items, but kind of keep it cohesive. So to switch things up a little bit though, here I decided to use the cave and some of the glowing moss balloons instead. I hadn't used that anywhere on the island and really wanted to, so I was glad I was able to make it work here. And then also on the ceiling, I hadn't used a lot of the glowing moss hanging item. I had used tons of the vines, but not that many of the glowing moss. So as you noticed a minute ago, I went a little trigger happy with those, adding way too many. So then kind of dialed it down, added in some of the vines, and I think the combination of the two makes it look a little more natural than just having a ton of the neon color. So earlier when I alluded to Muffy's house leaning a little National Treasure-esque, it's really only the tiki torches that make me feel that way, and slightly the wallpaper, kind of like at the very end of the movie where they're climbing through the catacombs to eventually find the treasure. But even a reach, that works for me. But like I've mentioned in some of the other swamp builds, I feel like a bit of a broken record at this point. I did try to just make sure it was cohesive while also going slightly different with the build. So I used some of the same series items like the vines, even though I didn't use necessarily the same exact type of vine item. And then again, my one true love, the wheat field. And finally, last but not least, we have Olivia's home, who, as a refresher, is the resident fortune teller of the carnival. I thought about changing the purple roof of her house, but ended up deciding against that since the fortune teller sign and the stall that I have outside of her home is purple. Plus, I kind of like the purple tones that I've been adding in throughout the island just as a little touch here and there. As I mentioned earlier, the interior of Olivia's was definitely the most difficult for me, which is a little ironic since her home was really the only one that I had even a concept for since I had originally started of even decorating this island in the first place. Anyway, for this one, I did start with some of the larger furniture items like this gazebo item, but then I found myself getting a little overwhelmed just by the sheer size of it and the fact that I didn't really know what to do from there. So I abandoned that idea and started simpler with just items I knew I definitely wanted to use, like the round table with the skirt and the plasma ball. From there, I moved on to the area behind the table and added a bunch of these cupboard type of items that I thought would be good for just honestly some storage and also a good space filler. And then started looking for some of the smaller items that I could put on the cupboard that would even remotely kind of give the energy of apothecary or kind of witchy adjacent and just fit the overall vibe of a fortune teller. At this point, I was feeling pretty good about the back half of the room, but I had zero idea of what to do with the front portion. So I played around a little bit with the idea of adding a screen there, but I just felt like that item blocked way too much of the room in general. So I continued to look for items. I don't know what I'm looking for, honestly. I think just anything that maybe I didn't notice before. And eventually I do end up settling on this plant partition item. It's not particularly exciting, but it at least covers so much of the floor space, and I feel like it could maybe work. Like maybe it's some kind of poison ivy or something that could be witchy. This item, honestly, I just wanted to see what it looked like. I wasn't planning on using that. I also had a pretty hard time picking a light fixture for this room. I didn't want it to be too bright in here, but I did want at least something hanging from the ceiling, so I messed around with, I think, 3 different types. I'd never used the spiral and wanted to kind of force it in, but eventually I thought it was just too light-toned overall. I also thought about maybe using some of the Moroccan ones and really going all out with the purple, but that also felt like I was forcing it a bit. Then at this point, I'm feeling pretty decent, I would say, about how the room is looking, but then I realized I had absolutely nothing on the walls, so definitely wanted to add some things in here. And one thing I hadn't used in really any of the builds so far, since it just didn't really work, since honestly a lot of them were supposed to be outdoors, are paintings. So I decided to add in a couple of those here and there. And that that is a wrap on Olivia's Fortune House and also of the episode. So thank y'all so much for joining me for day 29. I know it was a little different, but hopefully y'all enjoyed it just the same. And I will see y'all tomorrow for day 30 of this 30-day Spooky Island Challenge.